In 1955, a young gas station attendant named Scotty Bowers received an unexpected proposition from one of Hollywood's most celebrated leading men. What began as a $20 arrangement would evolve into a decades-long underground network that connected the era's biggest stars with their most carefully guarded desires. Behind the glittering facade of Golden Age Hollywood, where studio contracts dictated not just career choices, but personal lives, a shadow world thrived, one where icons lived double lives, where marriages were strategic performances, and where love dared not speak its name. The very stars who embodied American dreams on screen were living entirely different realities behind closed doors. From legendary actresses who found solace in each other's arms to leading men whose romantic personas were carefully constructed illusions, the truth reveals a Hollywood far more complex than the black and white films it produced. If you're fascinated by the untold stories behind cinema's golden era, subscribe now, because what we're about to reveal will forever change how you see these timeless icons. Walter Pidgeon, the secret catalyst. Walter Pidgeon possessed the distinguished bearing that made him Hollywood royalty, but his true legacy lies in the underground network he helped create. Married twice for appearances, Pidgeon harbored attractions that could have destroyed his career overnight. His fateful encounter with young Scotty Bowers at a Hollywood Boulevard gas station sparked something unprecedented, a discreet referral service that would serve Hollywood's hidden community for decades. Pidgeon didn't merely participate, he became an evangelist, quietly spreading word among his peers about Bowers' unique operation. The arrangement satisfied his own needs while creating opportunities for cash-strapped ex-Marines seeking income. What started as personal desperation evolved into systematic discretion, with Pidgeon serving as both client and unofficial recruiter. His involvement remained a whispered rumor until Bowers' explosive memoir decades later named names with shocking specificity. Pidgeon's double life exemplified the era's cruel contradiction, public adoration built on private deception, where authentic desire required elaborate concealment, and where Hollywood's most respected figures lived in constant fear of discovery. Greta Garbo, the enigmatic goddess. Greta Garbo cultivated mystery as deliberately as other stars cultivated publicity. Arriving in America at 20, she quickly established herself as cinema's most compelling enigma, a woman whose refusal to conform to Hollywood's promotional machine only heightened her allure. Her romantic life defied categorization, spanning passionate affairs with both prominent men and women, including rumored encounters with Marlene Dietrich and Marilyn Monroe. Garbo's approach to privacy was revolutionary for its honesty. Rather than fabricate heterosexual romances, she simply refused to discuss her personal life, creating an air of mystique that protected her while captivating audiences. This strategic silence allowed her to live more authentically than many contemporaries who felt compelled to construct elaborate facades. Multiple marriage proposals from men like Swedish publisher Lars Saxon and silent film star John Gilbert went unanswered, not from cruelty, but from an understanding of her own nature. At 35, Garbo made the ultimate power move. Complete retirement, spending her remaining decades living exactly as she chose, answering to no studio, no public, no one but herself, until her death in 1990. Montgomery Clift, the tortured artist. Montgomery Clift embodied the sensitive male archetype that would define method acting for generations. Unlike his Hollywood peers who flocked to Los Angeles, Clift remained based in New York, a choice that preserved both his artistic integrity and personal privacy. His mysterious nature fascinated audiences, particularly his intense on-screen chemistry with Elizabeth Taylor, which fueled endless speculation about their potential romance. Behind the brooding exterior lived a man wrestling with desires that 1950 society deemed unacceptable. Clift managed his secret life with careful discretion, hiring male companions through underground networks while maintaining his public image as Hollywood's most eligible bachelor. The constant performance exacted a devastating toll on his psyche. The 1956 car accident that scarred his face became a convenient explanation for his subsequent decline, but those closest to Clift understood that his demons ran deeper than physical trauma. Heavy drinking became his escape from the suffocating pressure of hiding his true self. When he died in 1966 at just 45, Hollywood lost not just a remarkable talent, but a man who had been slowly crushed by the weight of living a lie. Barbara Stanwyck, the defiant professional. Barbara Stanwyck commanded respect in an industry that typically reduced women to ornamental roles. Her sexuality became perpetual speculation throughout her career, with widespread rumors of lesbian relationships that she neither confirmed nor denied. Stanwyck understood the game: marry twice, adopt a son, maintain appearances, while never compromising her essential self. Her portrayal of lesbian character Jo Courtney in 1962's Walk on the Wild Side represented groundbreaking visibility, though Stanwyck refused to connect the role to her personal life. When writer Bose Hadley pressed her about lesbian experiences, comparing her to known bisexual icons Garbo and Dietrich, Stanwyck's response was swift and final. She kicked him out of her house. This reaction revealed Stanwyck's survival instinct. She had built a 60-year career by maintaining professional boundaries that protected her private truth. Unlike contemporaries who eventually found freedom in retirement, Stanwyck carried her secrets to the grave, dying in 1990 at 83, having never publicly acknowledged the whispered rumors. Her legacy stands as testament to both professional achievement and personal resilience in an unforgiving era. Marilyn Monroe, the vulnerable icon. Marilyn Monroe's status as the ultimate male fantasy masks a more complex reality about her emotional and physical needs. Despite her reputation as a man-eater, Monroe found her deepest connections with women, who allowed her to drop the performative sexuality that defined her public persona. With women, Monroe could express vulnerability, fear, and authentic emotion without the pressure to maintain her bombshell image. Her troubled childhood and ongoing mental health struggles created barriers to intimacy with men that went beyond mere preference. Some reports suggested physical complications that made heterosexual encounters uncomfortable, leading her to seek satisfaction and emotional connection through lesbian relationships. These weren't casual encounters, but meaningful connections that provided genuine fulfillment. Monroe's sexual appetite was legendary, but the true story reveals a woman desperately seeking authentic connection in a world that reduced her to a commodity. Her relationships with women offered sanctuary from the male gaze that simultaneously made her fortune and trapped her in roles she couldn't escape. When Monroe died at 36, the world mourned a sex symbol, but lost someone whose true emotional life remained largely hidden and misunderstood. Spencer Tracy, the conflicted star. Spencer Tracy's public image as Hollywood's everyman masked profound internal conflict about his sexuality. Married with children, Tracy maintained his family man facade while privately struggling with attractions that contradicted everything his Catholic faith and public persona represented. His legendary partnership with Katharine Hepburn, according to insiders like Scotty Bowers, was largely a studio creation designed to deflect attention from both stars' true natures. Tracy's relationship with alcohol became his primary coping mechanism for living in constant contradiction. The burden of maintaining heterosexual respectability while yearning for authentic connection with men drove him to increasingly destructive drinking patterns. His rumored long-term relationship with actor John Derek represented the kind of genuine partnership he could never publicly acknowledge. Bowers' later revelations painted Tracy as a regular client who used the underground network to find male companions, describing the Hepburn romance as a pseudo-romance that benefited both parties' careers while protecting their secrets. Tracy's tragedy lies in never experiencing the freedom to love openly, spending his entire career hiding his essential self behind carefully constructed public relationships and drowning his authentic desires in alcohol. Katharine Hepburn, the independent spirit. Katharine Hepburn revolutionized Hollywood's expectations of leading ladies through sheer force of personality and talent. Her relationship with Spencer Tracy, now understood to be largely theatrical, provided perfect cover for a woman whose true romantic interests lay elsewhere. Hepburn's famous preference for menswear and her fiercely independent lifestyle weren't mere eccentricities. They were expressions of her authentic self in an era that demanded female conformity. Behind closed doors, Hepburn lived as an openly gay woman, though studio contracts prevented public acknowledgement of her sexuality. Her 25-year romance with Tracy served both their purposes. He gained a respectable female companion, while she deflected speculation about her relationships with women. The arrangement allowed both stars to maintain their careers while living more freely than most of their contemporaries. Hepburn's legacy transcends her hidden sexuality. She proved women could be leading ladies while maintaining personal autonomy and refusing to conform to Hollywood's narrow definitions of femininity. Her 4 Academy Awards and decades-long career demonstrated that talent and determination could overcome even the most restrictive social expectations. When she died, the world celebrated a pioneering actress, unaware of the additional barriers she had overcome simply to love authentically. Clark Gable, the King's Secret. Clark Gable reigned as Hollywood's ultimate masculine ideal, the king whose rugged charm defined leading man charisma for generations. His reputation as a womanizer, built on numerous affairs with co-stars and his legendary romance with Joan Crawford, created an impenetrable image of heterosexual conquest. Yet beneath this carefully crafted persona lay a more complex sexuality that included financial arrangements with men. According to David Brett's controversial biography, Gable participated in gay-for-pay encounters and engaged in rough trade relationships that satisfied desires he couldn't publicly acknowledge. These revelations paint a picture of a man whose public image was so far removed from his private reality that he lived in constant performance mode, never able to fully express his authentic self. The rumor that Gable initially resisted starring in Gone with the Wind because openly gay director George Cukor knew about his hustling past suggests the perpetual fear that haunted closeted stars. Every professional relationship carried the potential for exposure, turning career opportunities into emotional minefields. Gable's 5 marriages and numerous public romances now read as elaborate misdirection, protecting him from scrutiny while denying him genuine intimacy. His legacy as Hollywood royalty masks a man who never experienced the freedom to rule his own heart. Cary Grant, the elegant enigma. Cary Grant epitomized sophisticated masculinity, becoming one of Hollywood's most beloved leading men through sheer charm and impeccable timing. Yet his personal life told a different story. 5 marriages that suggested searching rather than finding, and a 12-year cohabitation with fellow actor Randolph Scott that raised eyebrows throughout Hollywood. Their relationship, beginning when they met on the set of Hot Saturday in 1932, defied easy categorization. The 2 men lived together in a Los Angeles mansion dubbed Bachelor Hall, maintaining their arrangement before, during, and after various marriages to women. Studio publicity departments worked overtime to explain away their domestic partnership, but Hollywood insiders understood the true nature of their bond. Reports suggest Grant eventually ended the relationship due to pressure from studio executives who feared scandal. Grant's 5 marriages appear in new light when considered alongside his relationship with Scott. Attempts to construct the heterosexual life that industry demands required, while never finding the deep connection he had experienced with his male partner. His charm and sophistication masked a man caught between authentic desire and professional necessity, never able to fully embrace either path. Grant's enduring popularity as a romantic lead carries tragic irony. Audiences fell in love with a man who could never love freely himself. Marlene Dietrich, the Berlin Rebel. Marlene Dietrich brought Berlin's sexual liberation to Hollywood's repressive environment, smuggling continental sophistication past American censors through sheer star power. Her bisexuality wasn't hidden shame, but integrated part of her identity, formed during Berlin's wild 1920s when she frequented gay clubs and drag balls that celebrated sexual fluidity. This openness became dangerous in Hollywood, requiring careful management to preserve her career. Dietrich's marriage provided necessary cover, while her husband maintained his own relationship with a mistress, creating an arrangement that satisfied everyone's needs. Her rumored affairs with fellow stars like Greta Garbo represented more than casual encounters. They were connections between women who understood the unique pressures of maintaining public facades while honoring private truths. Her German background added another layer of complexity during World War II, when her anti-Nazi stance conflicted with her homeland, while her sexuality remained perpetually suspect in America. Dietrich navigated these treacherous waters through careful performance, maintaining her mystique while never fully concealing her true nature. Her career, spanning into the 1980s, proved that strategic authenticity could coexist with commercial success, though it required constant vigilance and emotional compartmentalization that few could sustain as successfully. Anthony Perkins, the method actor's shadow. Anthony Perkins achieved immortality through his chilling portrayal of Norman Bates in Psycho, but his greatest performance may have been maintaining his heterosexual public image while privately seeking fulfillment through Scotty Bowers' network. Married with children, Perkins presented the picture of conventional family life while regularly hiring male companions to satisfy his authentic desires. His wife, photographer Barry Berenson, reportedly remained unaware of his double life until he contracted HIV, finally forcing acknowledgement of the secrets he had carried throughout their marriage. This revelation transformed their relationship's final years from comfortable domesticity into desperate attempts to process decades of deception while facing terminal illness together. Perkins' death from AIDS complications in 1992 occurred during the height of the epidemic's devastation of the entertainment industry. His passing surprised many who had no knowledge of his illness, reflecting the continued secrecy that surrounded his personal life even as he was dying. The tragedy of Perkins's story lies not just in his premature death, but in the decades spent compartmentalizing his identity so completely that his own family didn't know who he truly was until it was too late. Joan Crawford, the survivor's appetite. Joan Crawford's rise from desperate poverty to Hollywood royalty came through ruthless determination and strategic use of her sexuality with both men and women. Born into circumstances where her mother worked as a prostitute and her stepfather attempted rape, Crawford learned early that survival required using every available tool. Her transition from dancing in traveling theater companies to movie stardom allegedly involved sexual relationships with studio executives who could advance her career. Once established, Crawford's sexual appetite became legendary, encompassing affairs with male and female co-stars that scandalized even permissive Hollywood circles. These weren't casual encounters, but calculated connections that served both pleasure and professional advancement. Crawford understood that in Hollywood's power structure, sexuality was currency, and she spent it strategically to build an empire. Her colorful personal life contrasted sharply with her meticulous professional image, creating a dichotomy that fascinated audiences and colleagues alike. Crawford survived multiple career reinventions, industry changes, and personal scandals through sheer will and careful image management. When she died, Hollywood mourned a consummate professional who had fought her way from the bottom to the top, using every weapon at her disposal, including sexual relationships that defied conventional boundaries. Ramon Novarro, the Latin lover's tragedy. Ramon Novarro's exotic appeal made him one of silent cinema's greatest heartthrobs, the Latin lover whose smoldering screen presence drove female audiences to hysteria. Yet this carefully constructed image of passionate heterosexuality masked a man profoundly uncomfortable with the female attention his career demanded. Novarro's true interests lay with men, a reality that created devastating internal conflict given his devout Catholic faith. His struggle with alcoholism stemmed directly from this irreconcilable contradiction between his spiritual beliefs, professional image, and authentic desires. Unable to publicly acknowledge his homosexuality or abandon his faith, Novarro sought solace in alcohol while privately hiring male companions through underground networks. This cycle of guilt, desire, and shame dominated his personal life even as his professional success continued. The tragedy that ended Novarro's life in 1968 perfectly encapsulated the dangers faced by closeted stars. Two men arrived at his home posing as prostitutes but intending robbery, ultimately beating him to death during their crime. Novarro died not just as a victim of violence, but as a casualty of a system that forced him to seek authentic connection through dangerous underground channels. His death represented the ultimate consequence of a society that criminalized love, creating conditions where seeking companionship became literally life-threatening. Marlon Brando, the revolutionary's appetites. Marlon Brando revolutionized acting through raw sexuality and emotional authenticity, but his off-screen appetites proved even more boundary-breaking than his performances. Married 4 times and fathering 17 children, Brando's heterosexual credentials seemed unassailable, yet his sexual interests encompassed men with equal enthusiasm. His bisexuality wasn't a shameful secret, but integrated part of his rebellious rejection of conventional morality. Brando's rumored long-term affair with James Dean represented more than a casual encounter. Two method actors who found in each other both sexual satisfaction and intellectual connection that transcended gender boundaries. His alleged one-night stand with Bob Dylan demonstrated his attraction to creative spirits regardless of their physical form, while his relationship with Richard Pryor in the 1970s showed that his appetites continued evolving throughout his life. Unlike contemporaries who compartmentalize their sexualities to protect their careers, Brando seemed to view his bisexuality as an extension of his artistic authenticity. He approached sexuality with the same revolutionary spirit that transformed American acting, refusing to accept limitations imposed by others' comfort levels. While never publicly discussing these relationships, Brando lived more openly than most stars of his era, using his immense talent and cultural influence to create space for authentic expression that others could only dream of experiencing. James Dean, the rebel's truth. James Dean's cultural impact transcended his brief career, transforming teenage rebellion into artistic statement and masculine vulnerability into sex appeal. Yet behind his carefully cultivated image as the ultimate heterosexual bad boy lay a man whose romantic interests included prominent male figures in Hollywood and beyond. His sexuality has remained subject of speculation precisely because those closest to him understood the truth. Dean was primarily gay, but performed heterosexuality for public consumption. Dean's method acting approach extended to his personal life, where he threw himself completely into whatever role circumstances demanded. His heterosexual relationships served career advancement and public image, while his authentic connections developed with men who understood the pressures he faced. The intensity that made him compelling on screen reflected the exhaustion of constant performance off-screen. His death in 1955 at age 24 occurred just as his career was reaching its peak, cutting short not just promising professional trajectory, but personal journey toward potential authenticity. Dean died while racing to location shooting for Giant, his need for speed perhaps reflecting his broader need to escape the constraints of his manufactured image. The car accident that ended his life prevented him from ever experiencing the freedom to love openly, leaving behind only speculation about who he might have become had he lived beyond his rebel persona. Charles Laughton, the artist's complexity. Charles Laughton's theatrical background and distinctive physical presence made him one of cinema's most memorable character actors. But his 30-year marriage to actress Elsa Lancaster raised questions about the true nature of their partnership. While publicly devoted spouses, their relationship reportedly accommodated Laughton's sexual interests that extended far beyond conventional boundaries and included arrangements with male prostitutes through Scotty Bowers' network. Laughton's appetites allegedly encompassed activities so unconventional that even Bowers, experienced in Hollywood's most unusual requests, found them noteworthy. These encounters provided outlets for desires that his public marriage couldn't satisfy, creating a double life that required careful coordination with his wife's apparent understanding or willful ignorance of his activities. The Laughton marriage represents one possible solution to Hollywood's impossible sexual politics, a partnership that provided cover and companionship while allowing both parties to pursue their authentic interests privately. Whether Lancaster participated in or merely tolerated her husband's arrangements remains unclear, but their long marriage suggests some form of accommodation was reached. Laughton's professional success continued uninterrupted by scandal, proving that with careful management and mutual understanding, even the most unconventional arrangements could coexist with Hollywood careers. Tyrone Power, the matinee idol's façade. Tyrone Power possessed the classical Hollywood leading man combination of devastating good looks and romantic screen presence that made him irresistible to female audiences worldwide. His relatively brief career packed numerous memorable performances into intense years of stardom, establishing him as one of the era's most bankable romantic leads. Yet, according to Scotty Bowers and other Hollywood insiders, Power's off-screen romantic interests diverged dramatically from his public image. Power's sexual life reportedly included relationships with both men and women that went beyond conventional boundaries, encompassing activities that shocked even Hollywood's jaded underground networks. His needs required the same elaborate discretion that protected other stars. But Power's particular desires made him especially vulnerable to exposure and blackmail from those who serviced his requirements. The pressure of maintaining his romantic leading man image while pursuing increasingly complex sexual arrangements may have contributed to the stress that led to his fatal heart attack at age 44 during a trip to Spain in 1958. Power died at the height of his career, never experiencing the freedom to explore his authentic desires openly. His death robbed Hollywood of a major talent while ending a life constrained by the impossible demands of maintaining public perfection while pursuing private satisfaction. Richard Pryor, the comedy legend's honesty. Richard Pryor's comedy revolutionized American humor by bringing unprecedented honesty about race, addiction, and personal struggle to mainstream audiences. His willingness to expose his own vulnerabilities extended to his sexuality, which encompassed relationships with both women and men that he approached with the same unflinching directness that characterized his professional work. Born into a brothel where his mother worked as a prostitute, Pryor understood sexual complexity from childhood. His 7 marriages suggested a man searching for connection across various relationships, while his confirmed affairs with Marlon Brando and admitted 2-week relationship with a transvestite demonstrated sexual interests that transcended gender boundaries. Pryor's approach to these relationships reflected his broader philosophy: experience life fully and talk about it honestly, regardless of social expectations or potential consequences. Unlike contemporaries who compartmentalized their sexualities to protect their careers, Pryor seemed to view his bisexual experiences as material for potential comedy and personal growth. His widow, Jennifer Pryor's public confirmation of his affair with Brando in 2018 aligned with Pryor's lifetime pattern of radical honesty about subjects others avoided. His legacy includes not just revolutionary comedy, but a model of authenticity that few entertainers have matched, living and speaking his truth regardless of public reaction. Rock Hudson, the ultimate heartbreaker's secret rock. Hudson embodied masculine romantic perfection for 1950s audiences, his towering height and classic features making him ideal for leading man roles that required both strength and sensitivity. His Oscar nomination confirmed his acting abilities, while his marriage to Phyllis Gates provided necessary heterosexual credentials for a career built on female adoration. Yet Hollywood insiders knew the truth. Hudson was gay and struggling with the massive contradiction between his public image and private reality. Hudson's marriage to Gates lasted only 3 years, reportedly ending when she hired a private investigator who gathered evidence of Hudson's relationships with men. The dissolution wasn't merely romantic disappointment, but devastating recognition that his career-essential façade was crumbling. Gates's discovery forced Hudson to confront the impossibility of maintaining his double life indefinitely. When Hudson died of AIDS complications in 1985 at age 59, his death became one of the first high-profile casualties that brought the epidemic to mainstream attention. His final years were spent battling not just terminal illness, but the complete collapse of his carefully constructed public image. Hudson's tragedy represents the ultimate cost of Hollywood's sexual restrictions. A man who spent his entire career denying his authentic self, only finding freedom in death when secrecy became impossible. Raymond Burr, the lawyer's long love. Raymond Burr achieved television immortality as defense attorney Perry Mason, the unflappable lawyer whose dedication to justice made him one of TV's most beloved characters. His subsequent role as wheelchair-bound detective Robert Ironside further cemented his status as television's reliable authority figure. Yet Burr's personal life told a different story than his traditional conservative on-screen personas suggested. His brief 1948 marriage to Isabella Ward ended quickly, but his 1960 meeting with Robert Benavides on the Perry Mason set began a relationship that would last until Burr's death in 1993. For over 30 years, they maintained their partnership while publicly describing Benavides as a business associate, a necessary fiction that protected both men's careers and reputations during less tolerant times. Their relationship included joint business ventures, including a vineyard they established together in Sonoma County during the 1980s, creating a shared life that paralleled heterosexual marriage in every way except public acknowledgement. Burr's ability to maintain both his television career and long-term relationship demonstrated that with careful discretion and mutual commitment, even closeted stars could find lasting love. When he died, Burr left behind not just professional legacy, but proof that authentic relationships could survive Hollywood's hostile environment. These 20 lives illuminate the profound costs of living in an era when authenticity meant career suicide. Behind Hollywood's golden facade, an entire generation of performers navigated the treacherous waters between public adoration and private truth, finding ingenious ways to honor their authentic selves while protecting their professional survival. Some, like Greta Garbo and Katharine Hepburn, crafted strategic mysteries that protected their privacy while maintaining their careers. Others, including Montgomery Clift and Spencer Tracy, turned to alcohol to numb the pain of constant performance. A few, like Marlon Brando, used their cultural influence to live more openly than their contemporaries dared. Many paid the ultimate price, their secrets buried with them, their true loves never acknowledged, their authentic selves never publicly celebrated. Their stories reveal Hollywood's golden age as both magical and tragic, a time when dreams came true on screen while remaining forbidden in life. These performers gave audiences the romance, adventure, and passion that defined cinema's greatest era, all while being denied the freedom to experience such authentic emotions themselves. Their legacy transcends their films, serving as testament to the human spirit's resilience and the devastating costs of forcing love into shadows. Subscribe to explore more untold stories of cinema history, and remember, behind every golden age lie the complex truths of those who created its magic while sacrificing their own.